Now, Midnight really begins the Void Spire experience, boys. We have the final chapter of Midnight Raiding opening up today in the first season. Let's go ahead and dive straight in here and see where we currently stand with the lore.
Today, you'll experience the endgame story of Midnight so far. Here's the moment. It was supposed to be our glorious victory, the gathered armies of the light charging into the heart of the void, Xal'atath burning in the righteous fires of the Vanguard, but it didn't go down that way. So how did we go from that to this?
This was a cool cinematic.
Behold! The dark well opens!
Absolutely blasts the whole platform apart.
Mother!
I think it's important that they show his parents still falling, right? You see Tyrellian and Yria falling. They're not completely blasted to pieces, so I feel like they're going to survive. I feel like even Illyria's going to survive this, but where they're going right now, we have no idea.
Well, for many of us, it was clear this was a trap from the beginning. That is Xal'atath's MO. It just took Illyria's rage, the Vanguard's blindness and fury and zeal, and Umbric's brilliance to give her exactly what she wanted. Which was not Yria, not our destruction, but rather the means to achieve her ultimate goal. The Void Spire is a prelude to her masterpiece, and today I'll show you how we played our part perfectly.
Sure did. That dagger went pretty
Lorthamar.
deep. I agree, it did. I don't know what's going to happen with... I mean, she's clearly injured, if not dead. She could be dead. I could be wrong, but yeah, she did push that dagger in pretty deep.
Makes the call to arms. The Vanguard of the Light have gathered their strength and are preparing to march on the Void Spire, what they think is Xal'atath's fortress. But Lorthamar refuses to march alongside them. He'll stay in Silvermoon to defend, but the Light's Vanguard took everything it could, effectively leaving him with a stripped-down militia. We, however, do march alongside the Vanguard because we are the champions of Azeroth,
That's
and
right.
if we can do one thing well, it is putting the beat down on our enemies. So we jump through the
And there's
portal
loot.
and we find the Void Storm raging with its self-devouring Void Wars, and at the gates of the Void Spire, Tyrellian himself. Around him, shining like a beacon in the void, are the Vanguard. War Chaplain Sen and her healers, Emmaus Bellamy's Shield Wall soldiers, Vanel Lightblood's Linebreakers, and Korath Mountain Fist's war machines. Mountain Fist. That's this man's surname. Amazing. Illyria is here too, to meet her destiny. But what is that
great.
destiny?
I'd
Is
have
it
thought
to
about it.
end her hunt and slay Xal'atath, or is it something
I think we can all agree at this point, Illyria is totally a freaking idiot. I mean, she really did just play straight into Xal'atath's hands the entire time, never contemplating the fact that, there's a dark Naru inside of her. Maybe that's what she's after. I don't know. But and then she kept playing right into it, and that every time she would see her, she wants to attack her, and it's clear that Xal'atath is letting her see her, letting her be there to witness a certain thing or to play into the whole, oh, I'm fucking around with you for another step closer towards my final plan, which was clearly now release the Dark Naru. Yeah, rip Bozo, basically.
else does her rage cloud the very real danger she's running into. Meanwhile, Magister Umbric, our resident expert in the Void, has the secrets to burst open the Void Spire. But the Light's Vanguard...
I also want to say Magister Umbric has risen quite a bit in my ranking of cool characters in the game. We got to see him in kind of a cooler, more highly rendered cinematic, right? He ends up porting out our boy Eretor from the Fall, and you get to see him there. I think he's cool. I never really saw him as like, oh, this badass character or anything. You never really interacted with him much unless you made a Void Elf. But I think he's actually taken a few steps forward in terms of character, progression and everything. I think he's cool.
eye him with suspicion. After all, he wields the
He
Void.
finally settled on
Arator
an
does
outfit,
whatever
yeah,
he
a
can to keep
transmog.
this genuinely terrifying force of retribution on mission, but from the very start, it's clear that while everyone wants to defeat Xal'atath and end the threat, their reasons are rather different and may just clash. But, with everyone gathered, it is time for war. The Void Spire looms large, and at its gate is Imperator Aversian. He claims to rule the Void Spire and brings his army, the Endless, to face down the Vanguard. 5 immense portals open, and the forces of the Void flood out. Above it all, 2 Void-corrupted dragons swoop and dive, torching the land below, but the Vanguard cannot be stopped. And it's in the chaos of closing those Void gates that Xal'atath's true gambit begins to unfold. She taunts Yria, twisting every truth. Take Turalian's incident at the gates of Zalaman. He wounded Arator, and as Xal'atath says,
She plays
he
that
can
out.
now never be trusted. And that even though Yria is always talking about protecting her family, it was the light residing within her family that broke them. This is the kind of taunting she is good at. It's the needle Xal'atath will use to fray Yria's mind, to bring the Void close to the surface, which is precisely what she will need. But standing in the face of those half-truths is Arator, the actual guy who Turalian was hurt by. As we learn of the campaign, he is deeply concerned about his father, deeply concerned about the light. But the point is, he went on a journey with Aloncius Fowl to understand balance within the light, that any power can corrupt when it becomes absolute and overcoming within a being. He proceeded to reforge the shield Turalian lost at the Battle of Blackrock Spire and offered it to his father as a symbol of balance.
Yeah, I don't know how everyone feels about Arator right now, but I think he's a cool character too. I think a lot of the character development in Shadowlands, or not, oh god, Shadowlands, well, PTSD, in Midnight has been really good. I think Arator and his whole cinematic, that was freaking great. All the storylines and story beats that have come out since then have been good. I like where his character progression's going. And overall, the summoning of the elves and everything to even get ready for this, I thought was a cool moment.
But Turalian's mind was still
He's gay,
addled with the light's propaganda, and he refused. So with that in mind, Xal'atath's words do in a way ring true. Turalian may still be a threat, and Yria knows it. But there is no time to dwell. The fight rages until Aversian's portals are closed. But then comes the first unsettling sign that the Vanguard are falling to light blindness. Korth Mountainfist charges the Void Spire's approach by himself, and Aversian manifests in his full might to casually slay the dwarf. One ally down, and the gates of the spire closed. No plan survives contact with the enemy, but in this case, the wheels were already coming off from this early stage. Aversian is a lord of the Dominar, an aristocracy of the Void whose only goal is to devour their way to the top. We saw their underhanded and brutal methods with Decimus. It suited his purposes to help us, and as long as he got to devour the next Dominar in the ladder, he was happy enough.
Yeah, the whole thing about the ranks that Xal'atath has now in her Void army, all these guys are willing to backstab each other, devour each other, mess shit up. Like, it's completely a, what's it called? An alliance of convenience. Like, the Void doesn't like being so ordered. You can tell. A lot of fucked up shit happening in her army. And yet they're kind of aligned under Xal'atath for now.
Aversian, then, is at the top of this ladder. And as the fight begins, he tells us as much. He bellows that his hunger is insatiable, his armies are endless. And he blasts us with such immense power that it creates void-claimed zones.
Like a
if too many manifest, his army of the Endless appears and will kill us. Rank upon rank of ethereal and revenant descending like a tidal wave from the Void Spire that can and will wipe raids, and should everything go wrong, could wipe across Azeroth. But Aversian either never realized he was just another piece of Xal'atath's plan, or quite simply found himself having no choice but to play along with her to survive. He spent his powers, and just as quickly, we took him down.
That's right.
And with that, the approach suddenly became silent, and the Vanguard would bring forward their light-forged war machines and begin to blast the entrance. And this is where the real fight begins.
Devour
Inside,
and be
it's
devoured.
exactly what you would expect. Xal'atath has strung a web of roadblocks. Turalian demands we split up and deal with them all at once before we ascend. And first, we storm Behemoth's Rise, a platform that looks out onto the great vista of a void-ravaged world. But at its edge stands a Void Elf, and Arator instantly recognizes her. Void Light Everdawn. She is one of the Void Elf scouts that Turallion left to die during the initial invasion on the planet.
Oh, you see, this is why I like watching stuff. I didn't even know she had a story behind her. I mean, you could have opened up the dungeon or the raid log, I guess, and read about her, but we always kill her as like a little NPC to kind of bring about the boss's spawn. I didn't know she had a whole backstory, though.
Arator rescued those elves, but one refused to turn. Her mind had been fried by the void, and when the encounter begins, she calls out to the wasteland behind her. That's when Voracius appears, an Ultradon from the Void Wilds, a pure expression of the planet's will to destroy and consume. And if you look into the distance, you see that Voidstorm is not just a zone, it's an entire planet.
It's a planet, yeah.
And from the side quests, we know it was once known as Predatia, and that it was destroyed thousands of years ago by a weapon that razed an entire civilization, and from the waste of that war, the Void rose. Voracius rises then from that wasteland, consumes Everdawn, and attacks us. It's a straightforward fight compared to the mind-bending plans that Xal'atath has in store, but more than anything else, it's proof to the Vanguard of the Light that the Void Elves cannot be trusted. They just saw one willingly sacrifice itself to Voracius. And after Korath, this is now the second time the Vanguard have went off mission, have made a major mistake, have kind of hurt their cause.
Right.
They're now starting to believe that no one but the rabidly loyal can be trusted.
The
Our next
sympathetic in the
location
end.
is the Rift Labs. This is where we find the finest ethereal minds involved in an experiment. But it's not
Saladar.
immediately clear what they're working on. Now, these guys work for Saladar, right? So it must be something important. But then we hear the screaming. It's the voice of Saladar, but it sounds like he's being tortured.
Right.
He claims he upheld his bargain with Xal'atath, the one that we saw in a cinematic, and that this is
Shocker, Xal'atath's using him. I mean, what an idiot Saladar was to even align with her in the first place. Hey, this guy he's a shit leader. He went in line with Damascius, we beat him, and then he shows up with Xal'atath and we beat him again. And he thought Xal'atath was actually going to help him. He's a cuck, that's what he is. Yeah, he deserves to get the ending he did. Like Sam.
not what he was promised. Xal'atath tells him she gave him all the power
leaders, right?
he desired. It was just his fault that he couldn't control it.
Right.
It's classic Xal'atath. In the Supremacy animation, we saw what most consider her origins, but she only revealed that
What a
piece of her
noob.
backstory to Saladar to get him on side. By that stage, what Saladar wanted most was to protect his people, even if that meant doing so from within the Void. Xal'atath
I will give him that. He was trying to help his people. He just makes stupid decisions to do that. Like his end goal, his means of achieving his end goal are just freaking dumb as shit.
promised him power to secure that future for his people, but in practice, the Ethereals would only survive if they served her. Saladar was taken to the Void Spire and made into a weapon of the Void. When Xal'atath needed him,
Who put him in charge? Doesn't he end up he ends up becoming in charge when the Void is approaching, when they became Ethereals, like in that moment. The Ethereals, if you listen to that there's a story. I forget what the story is called. You can go listen to it. It's on Spotify or audiobooks or whatever. Talking about when the Ethereal, it's on YouTube actually, on Blizzard's World of Warcraft channel. When the Void was coming and they were slowly becoming Ethereals, wrapping themselves in bandages and everything, they used to have more of like a committee or like a political framework to make decisions and everything, where it's more than one person. And then Saladar ends up taking over at that time. Right, and it turns out he was kind of on the side of the Void and all this other shit. But he ends up taking over and leading the people in that way. He's corrupt as shit.
Juiced up with power, mind broken enough.
Nobody really gave him the power. He kind of took it
she put
in their moment of
in front
need.
of him. That being us. We fight. He is more powerful than we've ever seen him. But something's broken inside. You can almost start to feel sorry for him. And in his last dying moments, he calls out to Koresh, his homeworld, and simply says that he misses it. So, another villain down, but with each fight, we begin to question ourselves and each other more and more. Should we feel bad for Saladar? Well, the Light's Vanguard certainly don't think so. Light-blinded fire is beginning to stream up from their eyes, and to them, anyone who shows remorse for Saladar is pretty much just being sympathetic with the enemy. And if they're sympathetic with the enemy, well, they could go further. They could turn. They could be the enemy within. So clearly then, these guys are nearly, not quite yet, but nearly out of control. We just have one more lesson to
Almost
learn
light blind.
before they actually lose control. With 3 of Xal'atath's strongest down, it's time for a final lesson in how cosmic...
Wait a minute, that fight with the 3 paladins. Now that makes sense based on what he's saying. Oh, look at that. There's lore behind it all. So that's why we fight the 3 paladins, because they freaking lose their shit. We brought them in there. Into the raid.
Powers are a dangerous thing to toy with. We rush to the heart of the spire to find our way up. But there, blocking our path, we actually find 2 void dragons.
This
But
is
looking
a hard
into their
fight,
background,
actually.
we learn they were once red dragons from Azeroth born to the same clutch. Velgor and Ezorak. And like, say, the nightmare dragons of old, they have been corrupted. In this case,
Oh, wow,
by the
they're
Void.
from
And they show us
Dragonflight?
how Xal'atath was up to more than we thought during Dragonflight. She literally took and corrupted 2 of her own pet dragons. Yet, there's one bond the Void couldn't take, and that is the bond between them. And it's this that's our final lesson in what the Void does. It takes the familiar and it twists it. These
Pretty cool.
dragons from Azeroth, with a strong bond between each other, but twisted. Though as we've seen, Void is not the only power throwing down here. The Light is about to take its own shot at corruption. Or, should I say, the Light is just extremely powerful and the people wielding it are becoming, well, unable to wield it properly. Velgor and Ezorak fight with Fang and Claw, raging when the first of them dies. War Chaplain Sen summons light barriers of greater power than we've seen before, and Vanel Lightblood puts himself in a frothing rage, landing blows on the enemy. And this is when disaster strikes. The dragons lie dead in the ground, and with no enemy left to focus them, the Light's Vanguard bleed light from their eyes and charge ahead at us. And in this moment, our unity is shattered, and we're suddenly questioning, why are we here, and what is going on?
Oh,
Yria
shit.
is questioning Turalyon, and Arator is desperately
Now the story of the raid actually makes more sense. This is a good video from Bellular.
trying to hold everything together. And that's the exact situation that Xal'atath anticipated and counted on. Not because she is some magical Zoval-like genius, but because she just knows how light, how void, and most importantly, how our minds and emotions work.
Yeah, she understands the cosmology behind a lot of this shit. She gets the light in her video where she's like a little kid. She's got that sun, sundial, whatever necklace on her. So it looks like her people were light worshippers. And then clearly she knows the side of the void because she's been part of it for so long now. So yeah, she does understand how the emotions of the raid and everything she's putting us through as we advance through the Void Spire are going to affect people. It goes back to the Arator cinematic, where she's looking for him because she knows the light is about to freaking go nuts through him. And she was right, it did.
And she just uses those things to further her goals. It's
She's
not
a
that
psychologist,
the light and the void are big sentient forces that necessarily want something with all of us right now in the plot. It's just how those things are wielded by people. And Xal'atath's greatest strength is knowing how to flay people's minds
True.
and use them. Suddenly,
Absolute
we're no
power
longer
corrupts
chasing
absolutely.
Xal'atath. We're chasing the people who just minutes ago were our allies. They're no longer the Light's Vanguard, they are the light-blinded Vanguard. They charge through hordes of the void, claiming they are the Light's judgment, and any who stand in their way will burn in righteous fire. Arator, learning the hard lessons of the light-blind rage, tells them that they will only burn themselves. Now, you may not have seen this, but just take a look at this cinematic clip.
It's a great cinematic, man.
Such conviction, but your light will betray you. In your darkest moment, when you need it most, your light will turn to
So cool, man.
and all you'll be left with is ashes.
As you can see, Arator knows this from experience, and not just because his father accidentally slashed him with a sword. No, he has felt the pain of that burning.
Right.
We catch Vanel Lightblood and we beat some sense into him. Thankfully, he realizes what's happening, and he tells us that he mustn't stray. But it is clear that he's losing control. Bellamy is next. She tells Turalyon that all who tolerate the void are our enemy. But
I thought that maybe some dragons were native to that world. They could have been, but these two obviously were not from there. They came from Dragonfly. I also figured that light blindness was a symptom of being too deep into void energy, too. No, the void corruption and losing your mind to the void is a separate thing. Light blindness has nothing to do with being the void doesn't even have to be present for light blindness to occur. It's just the light using you, essentially, empowering you. I mean, light blindness that happened to Tyrellian, the void had nothing to do with it. They were there fighting orcs at the edge of Blackrock Mountain. But in that moment, the light empowers him. He freaking loses it and chops down a bunch of orcs. No void to be found there. But yeah, light blindness can occur devoid of the void. Hey, devoid of the void. That's a pretty good one.
Tyrellian refuses, of course, thinking about his relationship with Yria and Arator. As much as things are slipping through our fingers, this moment breaks the tension on whether Tyrellian will become light-blinded himself. In his own way, he has gained a small amount of the balance Arator tried to give him. We clear Bellamy's head with a tasteful application of violence, and she tells us that she doesn't know what's come over her, but to stay away from her anyway. And here's the thing, we did beat sense into them, but not for long, because they race ahead regardless, and by the time Vanel, Sen, and Bellamy are gathered, there is no more talking to them. They are now completely consumed by the will of the light. So, we're facing down the empowered champions of holy protection and retribution who are dead set on slaying Xal'atath themselves, and who do not trust us. With that, the light-blind Vanguard strike. It's a brutal fight. We're not just fighting our former allies, we are fighting the extreme power of the light. They work as a team, and as each member is taken down, the others only grow in power. That's why you really want to kill them all at once.
Yep.
They do, though, fall, and even in their final moments, they refuse to admit the light has failed them. Their emotional and spiritual connection to the light told them glory was at hand. All that they met was death. And now, with the Pillars of the Light's Vanguard lying dead on the ground, the plan has truly unraveled. There are so few left, and those that remain are being devoured by Xal'atath's trickery. Meanwhile, Lyria's hunt for vengeance has consumed her completely. Tyrellian has just slain his comrades in the light. Arator doesn't know how to bring this disaster of a mission to a close, but win or lose, Umbric does know that the end is near.
Yeah,
and it's
Umbric
into
plays
this
a good role at the
chaotic
end.
situation that Xal'atath levels her final taunt. If she knew we were going to kill each other, she would have just let us. But of course, Xal'atath knew this would happen, and as if to prove it, an umbral core appears. A gateway to the top of the spire. Umbric may know that this is the way up, but what he doesn't know is what lies on the other side.
The crown of the
We
cosmos.
ascend the tower in a torrent of void energy, and at the top, we find Yria alone and broken. Xal'atath calls her the guest of honor.
So why does the Horde care about any of this? Look, I will say the Horde have... well, I mean, you got to remember, too, Silvermoon's a Horde city, technically, so they care about, saving the Sunwell and everything. The Blood Elves are part of the Horde, so they're trying to save them, too. But the Horde is kind of absent. I don't disagree. Like, yes, the Blood Elves are there, and they're doing their Horde-y things, and they represent the Horde in this expansion pretty much. But where are the Orcs and the Tauren and everyone else? Like, what's going on with them? The Trolls. Yeah, they do feel quite absent from this expansion for the most part. But, I mean, the Horde cares about saving the world, too, right? So they live on this world, too. So that by itself does give them motivation to go through this raid and everything and try to save the world. But they fail just like the Alliance does. We're together, technically.
And whispers in Illyria's ear, edging her closer to the madness of the void. Tyrellian can't be trusted. She can't save her son. All of this was for nothing. Yria is waging a war for control of her own mind. And as we arrive, Xal'atath calls us her favorite champions. She was afraid, apparently, that we would miss what is now about to happen. Arator demands to know what Xal'atath is doing,
Very Lich
leading
King-y.
to a statement that we all could have predicted. That she is doing exactly what she promised, taking everything Yria loves and leaving her with nothing but the void. By now, Yria is losing that battle, and she lashes out at us. Just look at the energy exploding from her body, the pure void shaking the spire to its foundations. Yria can no longer hold on. The void takes
Right,
her.
this entire
and
fight
in
she's
that
losing her
moment of
shit.
madness, she turns on us. Some parts of her remain inside, though, telling us to get away whilst we can. But just as the light empowered the Vanguard, the void has made Yria an absolute monster. This was the moment Xal'atath was waiting for, the true reason we were brought to the Spire. It's now
Man,
time
I wonder if Locust Walker could have saved her in this moment. He's gone now, but he was always kind of like an anchor for her when she used to lose it, and he's not here anymore.
for us to learn why Xal'atath built the Void Spire
Died after we
and
killed
why this
Demacius.
final encounter with Yria is named the Crown of the Cosmos. Of course, it is a World of Warcraft boss fight. We do win. And I have to say, it's an absolutely amazing fight. It was
Yeah, it was a
really
fun
cool
fight.
and normal, and I cannot wait to play this on Heroic. But we do defeat Yria. She falls to her knees. Arator and Turalyon are with her, trying to bring her back to sanity. And that leads us to the climactic finale of the raid. Yria tells Xal'atath she'll die before she serves. But as it turns out, that was never the point. It likely
Right.
never was the point. That is when Xal'atath finally does what she's wanted to for a long time.
The moment of truth.
I'll die before I serve you.
Serve me? Despite all we've been through, it was never actually you.
This moment right here was shocking to me. I'm like, what the hell is she doing with the dagger? And I've said it before. The last time we saw the dagger was when it was pushed into the carcass or carapace, whatever the fuck that outer shell was of N'Zoth. Then it disappeared, right? We looked at it, we're like, where'd the dagger go? Oh, we just put it in N'Zoth. I guess it's here somewhere now. Or it was destroyed in that moment. Clearly not. Xal'atath got it back. So what the hell is where'd she get it from? Is N'Zoth still alive? What's going on? A lot of questions.
Beautiful.
Back during the campaign to take out the Legion, Yria absorbed the Naru Lura. And when she did, Xal'atath, who resided within the Blade of the Black Empire, said this.
The caterpillar has become the butterfly.
Yeah, I remember this.
She is all but ours now.
With that scene in mind, what we just saw is quite something. Xal'atath now wields the blade she was once trapped in and uses it to get what she really needed. Which was not Yria. It was Lura, a dark Naru, a being indistinguishable from a god of the void, and the being Yria has been carrying around with her ever since. That power threatened to consume Yria from the very start, but she managed to keep her sanity until this one final moment, and under the most extreme of duress, seeing her husband perhaps fall, perhaps turn into a totally different person, maybe even a villain, worrying about her son's impending death. While Xal'atath used all of that to coax the power of that Naru to the surface.
Right.
Yria broke. Yria fought us, and then Xal'atath shoved the Blade of the Black Empire into her back. Why? Well, here's why.
Releasing the Dark Naru.
Beautiful.
Behold! The dark well opens!
At least she can go to the Sunwell
Like
now.
the
Yeah,
light's
it
beam
doesn't exist
sealing the
anymore.
Void Storm, Lura's energy flooded from the Void Spire, shattering both the Naru and the Spire itself, breaching the veil between worlds and shooting directly into the Sunwell. All present fall through that beam. Turalyon, Yria, us, the Light's Vanguard. Magister Umbric manages to pull himself, us, and Arator from the beam using a Void Beacon. But the rest are lost. They have been drawn into the Dark Well. And this is a moment foretold since the Burning Crusade, when Muru transformed into Entropius, a boss from the original Sunwell Plateau raid. Kel'Thas did not realize how close he was to giving Azeroth over to the Void.
Man, it
When
almost happened all
Yria
those years
visited
ago.
the Sunwell after her long exile and 1,000 years of war, Lura couldn't help but explode from her body, drawn irresistibly toward the Sunwell. But what it took was a mind like Xal'atath to bring all of this together, to convince us that the Voidspire was her fortress, and that if we fought hard enough, we could end the whole Void invasion there and we could win. We chased her, slew her champions, cleared her roadblocks, all so Yria could deliver Xal'atath what she needed most: the key to the Sunwell's corruption. And now, with the Sunwell transformed, Silvermoon and Azeroth are in greater danger than ever before. Back home, we see a broken sky, the Void Beam looming over Silvermoon, and know we have to do something,
20 years in the
anything,
making,
to
yeah.
stop Xal'atath. But looking around, it's hard to see what we can do. The Alliance and the Horde are still absent, perhaps unaware that Xal'atath's plan is unfolding without them.
It's kind of
It has,
scuffed.
after all gone down.
So, I mean, the next raid, the raid that opens up today, this is where we're going. We're going now to the Dark Well to try to figure out how to freaking fix this shit. We're fighting the Naaru in the final fight here. We got a 2-boss fight raid that's really going to clear up the end of this storyline.
Extremely quickly. And until help arrives, all that remains is Lor'themar and his few defenders. So, who will step up to reclaim the Sunwell? Who will charge into near certain death at Xal'atath?
Wait, the Sunwell isn't the Sunwell anymore? No, it's the Dark Well now. It's been penetrated by the Void. That's it. And yeah, penetrated is the word I used. That's it. It's done. For now, I mean, I don't know if we can get it back. I don't know how we would get it back at this point. The Night Elves hint at when we're gathering all the elves for the final battle. She talks about maybe not rebuilding the Sunwell after this. Maybe finding another, path forward, because the Sunwell has led to so many problems for Azeroth.
hands, and
It's probably going to
once
get
more,
destroyed. Yeah, I think so
what
too.
is the fate of Yria and Turalyon? Because once again, they have been lost. Well, that is what we will see in the next chapter of the campaign and the march on Quel'Danas, which is the final raid of Midnight 12.0. It's when the promise of a united elven people will finally pay off, and it's when we'll finally get an idea of what the rest of Midnight holds.
Yeah, nice. Is story mode opening today too? I don't know. Usually story mode's a bit delayed from when the raid actually opens up. But all the difficulties of March on Quel'Danas are opening today. Crazy story so far. I like it. I think it's been pretty good. We'll see what happens next, though. Nice video from Bellular.